evening, and welcome to What's Your Story? I'm your host, James Ransom Reed Jr. If knowledge is power, experience is priceless. My guest has been blessed to live long enough to acquire ample amounts of both. She has lived through the presidential administrations of, if you can believe it, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, Trump, and now Mr. Biden. The purpose of this show tonight is to get the knowledge and experience from the people who walk among us every day, who have stories to tell, memories to share, and wisdom to help us move forward in a more positive direction. Everybody has someone in their home who has a wealth of knowledge about life in America or life wherever it was they came from. I want to tell those stories for posterity. I want to tell those stories because they matter. I want to tell those stories because they're true and they're real. My guest is Miss Jennie Boswell. She is a member of Avon Congregational Church in Avon, Connecticut. Welcome to the show, Jennie.
Thank you, Jim.
Would you please tell the audience about your background? I'm going to start here with A, B, and C. Who were your parents, and what were their names, and what were their professions?
My mother was Lucy Chilelli, my father Charles Torcha. My mom was the homemaker, and my dad worked on the railroad, and then later on in his later years in a dye factory.
Where were you born?
Hudson, New York.
What is Hudson, New York?
Yes.
What is it near up Hudson, New York?
Below Albany.
Near Albany.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right on the river.
Right on the river.
Right on the river.
I understand you were born a couple of days before Christmas.
Yes, I was.
We're not going to say the year.
Oh, that's all right. I'm proud of it.
Okay, very good. She was born 12/23, 1936.
36, right.
All right. I interviewed her in her lovely home before we got into the studio here, so that's why I'm up on the facts about her. How many siblings do you have, and what are their names?
I had 4 brothers, Jim. 2 are deceased. David, then I was second, and Michael, Robert, and Carmen. And
the ones who are not deceased, what are they doing now?
My brother Robert is a special needs person, and but he's able to live on his own. And we still have our own home in Hudson, New York. And my other brother Michael and his wife and family live in Hudson also, nearby.
What was it like growing up in Hudson with, there were 4 of you?
4, yes.
What was it like with all 4 of you growing up there in Hudson?
Well, 5 of us actually, 4
5?
brothers, Jim.
Okay.
It was, times were so different. We lived in our grandparents' house. Our grandparents lived upstairs, and my most happy times were spent with them. My grandmother taught me to sew on the old Singer treadle sewing machine.
The Singer, that thing with the pedal at the bottom?
That's right.
Okay.
And my grandfather was quite a gardener and grew his own popcorn, and in the winter we'd have the popcorn that he grew, and it was just a very normal Italian childhood, Jim, with a big Italian family.
Big Italian family.
Yes, yeah.
Was Hudson largely an Italian area, or did you have different families?
No, different. Our neighborhood was Italian, Polish, Black, Lithuanian. There was
so you had a mixed community.
A very mixed community, yes.
Spell your last name so the audience can know that Italian name.
Okay, Torchia.
And your favorite of all time memories growing up as a child in Hudson? What's your, other than hanging out with Grandma and Grandpa, what came that stuck in your mind and still stays there today?
Well, I was thinking of playing in the streets. Red Rover come over, and playing out in the street. We always felt safe, Jim, and we were always in each other's homes. It was, and we had to go home when the street lights came on. That was time to go home.
That was the signal?
That was the signal.
When you had to beat it to the path and get home.
Right, get home. Yeah.
Do you remember the games you played growing up there in Hudson?
Like I said, Red Rover and different things.
What is Red Rover?
We would be on each side of the street, and I dare you to come over and, run across the street and get caught and whatnot.
Okay, so
it was fun.
It was fun growing up there in Hudson.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you miss about it?
What do I miss? I still go up to Hudson as much as I can.
Yes.
My family's there. We still have our home there. I miss my old friends, Jim. They're all, I hate to say this, but deceased. A lot of my classmates, have gone. And
yes.
But I still do have some friends that I meet up with, which is great.
And share those memories.
Yes, yes.
That's the bond, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The bond that holds you together, those memories.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
And when you sit down with your friends and you reminisce, is there a common memory that people share that you talk about a lot every time, or?
Well, what's wonderful, Jim, is when you sit down with a friend, you haven't seen them in a very long time, and you can kind of pick up right where you left off.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's
like you never walked away from it.
It's like we never walked away from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do miss my classmates, my friends.
Yes. Yeah.
But I have a wonderful life here in Farmington, Connecticut. So.
Yeah, we're going to get to how you got here and all that. So, where did you go to high school?
Hudson High School in Hudson, New York.
Hudson High School in Hudson, New York.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your school mascot was?
No, I don't, Jen. I don't know if we had one, to tell you the truth.
Did you play sports in school? Or?
No, not at all.
No.
A little basketball. There was an evening team supported by the restaurants, and I was on the basketball team for a little bit. Didn't last too long.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, what was going on around you at that time? What year were you in high school?
50 to 54.
50 to 54.
Graduated in 1954. And as you know, as I said to you, in 1953, the president's wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, came to visit our school and got to meet with her. And at the time, I was president of the 020 Club, which was a library club. And today, I still am an avid reader.
So you actually got to meet Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yes, sir.
Franklin Roosevelt's wife.
Yes.
Could you describe her to us, to the audience?
I have a picture in the yearbook of her sitting at a library table. She looks to be very small, but she really, her presence was so large, Jim. She just, and she was herself. And she was asking lots of questions, about our lives and our school and all of that.
She was very personable.
Yes, she was.
And did you know at the time you were talking to well, let's see. No, he wasn't president anymore when she came to the school.
Right.
Yeah, because he had passed away in 1945.
Correct.
But so did you know you were talking to the ex-president's wife?
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So they cleaned off the tables and laid out everything for her to come there. Yeah.
Yeah. And years later, I did visit her home in Upper New York State, and her house, her cottage, where she entertained so many great people, was really very tiny and very small. That was a surprise. That's just the way she's so unassuming.
Yes. Yeah, even though she was from great wealth,
yes.
She, from what I've been there, as a matter of fact. What do they call it, Valkill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've been there, but yeah, she's one of my favorite historical people.
Yeah.
Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a visionary, way beyond and way ahead of her time and things.
She was.
Yeah. So I can't imagine being a high school kid and having Eleanor Roosevelt come to my school.
Yeah, it was quite a thrill.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what was your first paying job, Jenny, where you got some cash in your pocket?
Oh, babysitting. Jim.
Babysitting.
Babysitting for a local family. The baby's name was Vincent, and Vincent Matisse, and I was with him for a very long time till I almost graduated high school. His parents had a grocery store, and so sometimes I'd work in the store, and other times I was babysitting.
Do you recall that there was a expectation of you as a female in terms of your education? You were either going to be a secretary or a wife. How did you feel growing up? Was that true?
That's the way it was. Yeah. A lot of my peers, say our neighborhood, there weren't very many of us, Jim, who went to college. It was, we were either, secretaries or nurses, or went into nursing, or everyday jobs.
Or you got married.
Or you got married, right.
And had your family.
Right.
Could you remember being forced into any kind of a career because you were female, or?
Oh, not at all, Jim. I took secretarial courses all through high school, and after my senior year, I knew that I had a job working in the doctor's office the following September. So during the summer, I took a job at a sweater factory. So I worked 2 months at a factory, and that's where I met my husband.
Okay, I was getting to that. What was the major industry in Hudson? Was it the factory, the sweater factory?
Sweater, and downstairs was the pocketbook factory. There were a lot of mills, Jim.
A lot of mills up there.
Wool, cashmere, and
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So talk to me about growing up with your siblings in your home. Do you remember the coal man backing the coal truck up, pouring coal in the basement? Do you remember that?
Our home, we had gas.
You had gas?
We had gas.
All right.
Yeah. But we had milk delivery.
You had milk delivery?
We had milk delivery, yeah, and I can still see, being we were on the Hudson River, in the summer we had this gentleman who would go up the street selling Hudson River shad. And in the summer we'd have the watermelon trucks and whatnot, and so it was, interesting.
It was interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was the price of eggs? You remember when you were?
No, but I remember in the grocery store we sold kerosene for 15 cents a gallon, and bread was like 15 cents a loaf. Other than that, I don't remember, but I do know that my mom and dad's rent for the month was $15. And I mean, come on, $15.
Was it a house?
Yes. We lived in our grandparents' house. We lived on the first floor. My grandparents were on the second floor.
Did you say $15?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was their rent.
Wow. Dad have a car?
Nope, never drove.
He never drove?
Never drove, no.
So how did you go vacations in the summer, or what do you?
No, we didn't, Jim. We, with 5 kids, my dad was always working. If he wasn't working daytime, evening, he tended a bar, and whatnot.
Yeah. And your mom? Tell us a little bit about your mom. What influence did your mother have on you?
Oh, gee, Jim. She was, she had a real, a funny side to her that she never showed. to a lot of people, you know. And I remember her and my dad, you know, joking around with each other. And what I remember most is that when they didn't want us to know what they were talking about, they talked in Italian.
Ah.
And I never really got to speak Italian, but I think by osmosis, I've absorbed, and I think I understand more than I can talk and speak it.
Now, I'm going to guess, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Holidays were like big meal days.
Yes.
Where what mom cooked for days to have stuff ready for.
Yeah.
And you were in the kitchen with her learning, or?
Not really, because I was always at the grocery store or with the Matisse family.
Okay.
Some big Sunday dinners, and Saturday was making the sauce and the meatballs and all of that. And
did you do that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you made the sauce and the meatballs?
Well, yeah. Saturday yeah.
Was Wednesday actually Prince Spaghetti Day, or no?
Yes, it was again Spaghetti Day, right? At least twice a week, and Friday was a fish day. Being brought up Catholic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got married when you were 18 and a half.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you met your husband at the sweater
factory. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your husband's name, excuse me?
Leo.
Leo. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the first time you laid eyes on Leo, did the bells go off and the whistles, or?
Yes, Jim. Leo had just come home from serving in the Air Force for 4 years. He'd just come home from Japan. He served in Japan for 2.5 years. And at the sweater factory, I folded sweaters. So, behind a mesh screen, and the door was there for everyone to come through. And a little voice in my head said to me, "This is the man you're going to marry, believe it or not."
Is that right?
And I believe that was Jesus talking to me.
You believe that was Jesus talking to you?
Certainly do. Yeah.
Wow. Did Jesus tell Leo, or he just told you?
Oh, no, he told Leo.
Well, talking about marriage and the church and all of that, you had a very unpleasant experience with your Catholic church and your wedding.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Please tell us about that. I know that Leo was Dutch Reformed.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you were Catholic.
Right.
So tell us what happened when you wanted to get married.
Well, Leo, of course, his first meeting with the priest did not go well at all. And when it came to the subject of how we would bring our children up, this was something we did not really discuss. And so my brother was being married within a week or so, and I was to be in the wedding party, and the priest told my mom that I was not to show up, that I was, kind of excommunicated, I wanted to say. He just wanted, did not want to see me or Leo.
Well, that's stunning to me. That's why I'm actually. It must have been devastating to you to have been grown up
a
Catholic, and in that.
Jim.
Please tell us about that, Jennie.
It was. But fortunately, Jim, I started attending Leo's church, the Dutch Reformed, which there are no congregational churches in New York State. But while attending his church, I learned that it was so very much the same, other than, the ministers were married and there was no confession. And what I really, it's one of the things today that I really miss is the smell of the incense.
Really?
Yeah, it's that smell that, if I attend a Catholic church today, it's that smell that...
It evokes memories.
It does, yeah. But, I was young and had Leo, and we were married in his church, and I was very happy. And
did your family did your family give you a problem because you were getting married in Leo's church, or because you chose that versus staying a Catholic, or?
Not really, Jim.
Yeah.
But we did not. We had a very small private family wedding, and my family did all attend.
Oh,
and
they
my
did?
dad gave me away. Oh,
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
That helped you quite a bit, did it not?
Definitely,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
I can't,
Yeah.
I can't imagine, being 18 years old, having been raised in the Catholic Church, thinking of it as a part of
Right.
your life, and all of a
Right.
sudden being treated as if you were
Yeah.
a criminal or something. like that.
Exactly, exactly. And I was the one who attended church every Sunday. From,
Yes.
You know.
Yes, yeah. Now, what was the reasoning for it? Why did the church adamantly oppose it?
I think because of not wanting, Leo really didn't want our children to be brought up Catholic, and I think that was the main reason that the priest was so adamant.
So the priest demanded that the children would
Yeah.
have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
raised Catholic.
Definitely, that's the way it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, I really appreciate you having the courage to share that with us, because it's an important message to us today. I do not attack people's religions, but I don't know if that's still true today. If the Catholic Church still holds that position that people who, they won't marry
Yeah.
you or you get excommunicated. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They've changed
Yeah.
in a lot of ways also.
Yeah.
But, and I still think there are a lot of changes that need to be made.
Yeah. Yeah. What one change would you make if you could in the Catholic Church?
Well, I think when we look at priests, I think, thousands of years ago they were married, and when they were married, they were given a piece of land, and then they were running out of land. So, then comes the decision that they're not to be married, correct?
Yes.
In history. I think we need to let priests be married. And I think they need to make more room in the church for women.
Wow. This is just part one of my interview with Mrs. Boswell. I know that you're already finding this extremely interesting, like I am. So stick right there. We are going to close this particular session by saying what I always do. Everybody has a story. What's yours? Stay tuned for part two of my interview with Miss Jennie Boswell from Avon Congregational Church. Until we come back on, I'm your host, James Ransom Reed, Jr.